Hey everyone! We wanted to put together a button overview video for you. We've been getting a lot of requests for which buttons we have and how Billy learned to use the different ones. So I hope that you enjoy it. We have 59 buttons right now. She has used all of them in the correct context herself as of right now. I'm sure that once we add some more buttons that will change, but she's getting really good at, picking them up faster and faster. This is the setup that's recommended by Fluent Pet, the company that makes the buttons that Billy uses. And the thought behind it is that if you group like words together, they are more likely to be able to string words together to form sentences more rapidly than they might if they were just randomly placed in different locations. I'll start just by giving you an overview of all of the buttons that we currently have, and then I'll highlight a couple of the ones that we get really frequent questions about on how we model them. So starting on the left side over here, we have more of our social words. So bye, hello, oops, and where. A little bit farther over, some of our descriptors. So want, what, no, yes, love you, and which just signifies a question. Next we have nouns, so people and other animals. The Billy button, lots of people comment on the fact that it's still big, and that's because I really love this sticker that one of Billy's followers made for her, and so I couldn't bear to get rid of it. Plus Billy's like, the most important thing, so this button should definitely represent that. We also have mom and dad, dog, cat, grandma, which would not fit on the button, so that's the abbreviation that I came up with, and then friend. Moving over some more, or just some action verbs. So pets, which you can see is very, very worn. She really likes this one. Help, play, cuddle, food, and look. And then we had to extend because she had more than 6 verbs. So we added up here, come, sleep, settle, smell, and walk. And then we have items. So catnip, mousy, fan toy, worm, bunny, and water. And then again, we had to expand. So up here is zoom zoom, TV, and twirly. Here we have locations, outside, tummy, back, ear, chin, inside, work, and home. I have some plans to add different rooms in the house, as well as things like couch or table, because she's recently been exploring some of those. Next we have tertiary words, I guess, definitely fitting in with like the time theme and with emotions, but later, noise, all done, ouch, happy, and mad. And then she needed more room as well, so we added before, then, now, soon, morning, more, night, and afternoon. So now we'll do a couple of the more frequent requests that we have. Over here, we'll start on the left-hand side. The oops button is frequently a question, and the way that I modeled this was just with accidental button presses. So usually with myself, because I make more mistakes than Billy does with accidental presses, but especially like when I'm using my foot, if I come up and I think that I'm pressing, where, but I accidentally do like, a double one. So then I would say, oops, that was an oops. Over here, probably the most frequent question that we get is the love you button. Love you. So the way that I modeled that is, I guess, constantly. Whenever I was feeling love for Billy, I would model it, which is anyone who's owned a cat understands is a, pretty constant feeling. So, when we were cuddling, when I was petting her, when I would give her food, when I would come home, when I would leave, and usually I couple this with slow blinks and, delayed eye contact, which is more of a feline body language for affection and care. Some of the nouns I think are a little bit easier for people to understand how to model because it's related to, a very concrete thing. But definitely it was a little bit of a struggle, I think, for me to kind of switch Billy over to mom because it wasn't necessarily something that I would call myself prior to doing this. So the way that I did it, and I don't know whether it was super effective, there's probably multiple ways to model it, but when we first introduced the buttons, I utilized pointing because Billy has historically understood pointing. That's something that we have worked on a lot throughout her life. So I would point at myself and say mom, and then I'd point at Billy and I'd say Billy. And those were the two buttons that we started with. And so from there we were able to move to some of these other people and other animals. And then she could go from there. These action words are, I think, a little bit easier for people to understand. They're obviously much more concrete. It's easy to model play. It's easy to model pets. Again, with these, pretty easy to model. We don't get a lot of questions about how we model toys. That's a pretty common one. Same with locations. I think these are fairly easy to model. They're related to kind of one specific thing. One note on the back button that we get a lot, I have tried really hard to only utilize back in relation to the body part. So I don't say, I'll be back soon or anything like that, because as we know, English is really tricky when it comes to multiple meanings for different words. So that one for Billy really just relates to the body part, back. These ones are probably the most frequent questions on the way that we model things. And, I'm just going to preface this by saying I have no idea if the way that I did it is the most effective, but she seems to have picked up on them, so I guess it works. The first one that we started with was later, and this was just kind of out of desperation on my part because I made the mistake of giving her a food button, and that was very rewarding for her. So I needed a way to say, you can have food, but just not right now. So I introduced the later button, and this, I think the modeling was just through continued repetition. And probably initially she thought that it meant something similar to no. And when I added the soon button, I think that it became a little bit more concrete for her that, later is something that you really need to wait for. And soon is something that you need to wait for, but it probably will come sooner than later. So later I model as anything over 15 minutes. Soon is anything that's not happening right now, but it will happen within 15 minutes. We're not always 100% accurate with that, but that is the attempt. So mad and happy, those are frequent ones. Those are the only two emotion buttons that I have for Billy. Mad was her third word, and she took to it so fast that I really didn't have to model it very frequently. I did 3 modelings, and she picked it up after the third one and started using it herself, and it very quickly became her favorite button. So the first time that I did it, I had moved her off of my lap. We were cuddling, and I needed to get up. So I put her down, and she looked at me in disgust, and so I pressed mad, Billy mad. And then the second time and the third time were related to me telling her food later. And then after that, the first time that she used mad was when I moved her off of my lap again, and she went straight over to the mad button and pressed it. I gave her happy so that we could kind of, balance it out, and it wouldn't make me feel quite as bad that my cat was always in a bad mood. So happy I modeled, after I would give her catnip, after I would give her food, or when I was petting her, any of those times that she was showing pleasure, I would say Billy happy, and she has gone from there. The ouch button was, you know, kind of interesting to do, because how do you model a button that means pain without causing pain? And so what I chose to do is relate it to myself. So anytime that Billy and I were playing and she got a little bit too rough, so she either, you know, used her teeth a little bit too hard or used her claws a little bit too hard, I would say ouch, and then I would press the ouch button. There was one time before she started using it on her own that I accidentally stepped on her tail. Anyone who's owned a cat knows that that's kind of just, you know, comes with the territory. And after apologizing to her, I did model ouch, because it was an opportunity for it. Some of these, you know, soon and now, and the time ones, I've spent some time putting together videos of them that I think are going to be a little bit more helpful for anyone asking about these modelings. They're going to be better than me just describing it. So I'll link those in the video description so that everyone can go and check those out as well. So we haven't added a new button in probably about a month, and kind of thinking of what direction I want to go at this point. Any suggestions I will definitely take, but a lot of the times we add words as they come up in conversation, you know, things that I find myself wanting to say to Billy frequently, and then I end up giving it a button. So yeah, let me know any questions, and if you guys like these kinds of videos, we can definitely do more of them.